Hello everyone, welcome to Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services. It's a video on daily news and editorial analysis, which I'll be covering from the Hindu and Indian Express. So the most important news and editorial of the day that is relevant for both prelims and mains examination will be discussed in this session. Let's get started with news topic list. Today is 2nd of July. The first news, DRDO carried out test flight for autonomous UAV. Second, center hike duty on gold to cushion rupee. Third, MOE amendment in the Environmental Protection Act. This is by Ministry of Environment and Forest. They have proposed some changes. Fourth, India and Russia talks. And the last is an editorial, are renewable revolutions. Apart from the news and editorial discussion, at the end of this video, there will be MCQ based questions. These questions will be based on current affairs that will help you for the upcoming prelims examination. So without any further delay, let's get started. And if you're new to our channel, do not forget to subscribe Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services on YouTube. If you like this video, if you find this video informative and helpful for your examination, do not forget to press a like button. The first news, that is DRDO carried out flight of autonomous UAV. This was a test that was carried out. Important for General Studies Paper 3 under the topic Achievement of India in Science and Technology, Indianization of Technology and Developing of New Technology. So recently, Defense Research and Development Organization, which is DRDO, they have successfully carried out the maiden test of the new unmanned aerial vehicle, which is also known as UAV, right? This was by an autonomous flying wing technology demonstrator from the aeronautical test range of Chitraguda in Karnataka, right? तो ये आप images देख सकते हैं. This is the actual image of the UAV, and even the defense minister has also tweeted this. The flight marked a major milestone in terms of proving the critical technology towards the development of future unmanned aircraft, and it is significant towards providing India self-reliance in the strategic defense technology. Although this will also call for Atmanirbhar Bharat in the defense equipment and manufacturing. Now, development of UAV की अगर बात करें, this UAV is designed and developed by the Bengaluru-based aeronautical development establishment, which is a premium research laboratory under the DRDO. So this can be a possible statement for your examination. Now, this UAV as a fighter aircraft is powered by the small turbofan engine, and this engine is named as TRDD 50MT, which is actually an origin from Russia, right? So originally designed for the cruiser missile. इस तरह की जो machines हैं cruiser missile में भी use की जाती हैं, and basically this is an advanced version of the UAV that India has developed. Now, towards an Atmanirbhar Bharat in defense sector, the vehicle airframe as well as its carriers, flight control and avionics system were well developed indigenously. तो एक पूरी इंडियनाइजेशन की गई है यहाँ पे खास करके UAV के डेवलपमेंट में, and this indigenization will help India to move towards a path of Atmanirbhar Bharat in the defense sectors. It's a major achievement towards the autonomous aircraft, which will pave way for the Atmanirbhar Bharat in terms of critical military system. Also, the flight makers has a major milestone in terms of proving crucial technology towards the development of future UAV and in a significant step towards the self-reliance in strategic defense technologies. Now, the other news, center hike duty on gold to cushion rupee, something again important for General Studies Paper 3 in mains, that is Indian economy and issue related to planning, mobilization, resource growth and development. So in a measure to control the widening CAD, that is a current account deficit, the union government has increased the import duty of gold to 15% from earlier 10.75%. कुछ और percentage wise calculation है. I'll tell you that in the later part of the video. Now, the import of the gold has touched 23.3 billion in the month of May. India is a country where gold is something desired by each and every household. जिस वजह से current account deficit में काफ़ी ज़्यादा जोर पड़ता है. Even the government always go for the deficit when we import higher gold. Now, the duty change come into effect from June 30. That is, the government have decided. तो जून 30 से ये डिसीजन जो है चेंजेस के वो इम्प्लीमेंट हो चुकी है. Now, earlier rate on goods की अगर बात करें, the basic custom duty on the gold is 7.5%. This is the basic duty. Now, it will be 12.5%. जो current है, this was the previous one, and the current one is 12.5%. In this 12.5%, government will also add an agriculture infrastructure development cess, which is also known as AIDC. तो AIDC सेस लगाएगी इसके ऊपर गवर्नमेंट, दैट इज 2.5, राइट. तो इफेक्टिवली अगर आप देखें तो जो गोल्ड की ड्यूटी प्राइस है वो ऑलमोस्ट 15% हो गई. इफ यू ऐड दिस टू यू गेट 50%. तो 15% यहाँ पे चार्ज की जाएगी. उसके अलावा अ नेट ड्यूटी चेंज ऑफ 4.25% फॉर अ सोशल वेलफेयर सरचार्ज विल ऑल्सो बी चार्ज, और इसमें 0.75% की एग्जेम्पशंस मिलेगी, राइट. सो गोल्ड अट्रैक्ट एन एडिशनल 3% गुड्स एंड सर्विसेज टैक्स. सो अगर आप इफेक्टिवली देखें, सो the total levy on the gold is now at 18.45%. Now gold import की अगर बात करें, how much gold does India import? India import gold has jumped up from 56% in May, that is on year-to-year basis, surging the energy products. Whereas gold import की अगर बात करें, non-essential commodities में it has rose by 677% से हाई हुई है. और वैल्यू की अगर बात करें, दिस इज 5.83 बिलियन, हाईएस्ट लेवल इन द ईयर. नाउ इंडिया इज अ नेट इम्पोर्टर. बेसिकली अगर बात करें नेट इम्पोर्टर इन टर्म्स ऑफ ओल्ड एंड गोल्ड रिक्वायरमेंट्स में, इन में द टोटल वाज अराउंड 107 टन ऑफ द गोल्ड वाज इम्पोर्टेड इन जून. So this is something, the figure is, so that you can have an idea how Indian is like, they're inclined towards buying the gold products. As per the estimate, India's current account deficit is expected to widen by 2.9% of the GDP in the current fiscal as compared to 1.2% in the financial year, right? So this is the data that even you can use in the examination of mains. Now, just to give you a broad idea, कुछ इन्फोग्राफ्स हैं जो आपको हेल्प करेंगे समझने में. सो यू कैन सी फॉर नवंबर दिस इज वाज लाइक ऑलमोस्ट अ रिटर्न ऑफ 5.9% माइनस में है ये. एंड द गोल्ड इम्पोर्ट, इफ यू लुक इनटू द डेटा फ्रॉम 2017 to 2021, although it has decreased, but you can see the surge post 2020 के बाद. Even during COVID-19 the demand was not that high because of the lockdown also, but post revival ये देखा गया कि उससे पहले भी 762 टन के आसपास इम्पोर्ट की गई. एंड स्विट्जरलैंड is now India's fourth largest importer, only country in the top import partners where the number is rising, right? So this is something, the demand is coming. We import most of the gold from the UAE also. Moving to the other news, that is Ministry of Environment and Forest proposed amendment in the Environment Protection Act, something important for General Studies paper 3 in mains, under the topic conservation, environmental pollutions, degradation and EIA. So recently, the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change has sought a feedback from the expert and other stakeholder, where it has proposed to decriminalize the existing provisions under the EPA 1986. This is a topic which is very, very important for your mains examination, right? And even it will ask question from the prelims. The prelims or mains दोनों के लिए important है. The Environmental Protection Act was enacted in 1986 with an objective of providing protection and improvement for the environment. Now, latest proposals जो आई हैं गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से by the ministry has proposed to replace the proposal to imprison with the monetary penalty. यहाँ पे less severe किया जा रहा है for the contraventions with regards to the EPA. Overreaching laws can supersede the environmental laws such as Water Air Act, which will also be decriminalized. तो देखना होगा कि क्या इसको decriminalize करने के बाद इसके मिसयूज ज़्यादा बढ़ेंगे या नहीं. सो एक एनालिटिकल क्वेश्चन आपसे मेंस में ज़रूर पूछा जाएगा इस टॉपिक पे. हाउएवर, अ सीरियस वायलेशन ऑफ EPA विल लीड टू द ग्रेवियस इंजरीज एंड लॉस ऑफ लाइफ दैट इज कवर्ड अंडर द प्रोविजन ऑफ द इंडियन पीनल कोड. तो IPC के जो प्रोविजंस हैं वहाँ से एक्सेम्पशंस भी मिलेंगे. इंसिडेंटली, द करंट Environmental Protection Act provisions will govern the penalties in the case of single-use plastic also, जो कि गवर्नमेंट ने effectively लाने की बात की है from 1st of July 2022. Now, other point, that is Environment Protection Fund की बात की गई है. The government has proposed EPF. The amendment has proposed for the creation of Environmental Protection Fund, which the amount will be, basically in which the amount of the penalty will be remitted. So this is again important. Specifically, this type of question can be framed in the prelims examination. Now, penal provisions under EPA की अगर बात करें, in case of any non-compliances, the current provisions of the EPA has a rules that violators को punish भी किया जाएगा, imprisonment भी की जाएगी, and the fine up to 1 lakh rupees and even a 5-year imprisonment or both. Right? In case of continuation of violations, additional 5,000 rupees per day के हिसाब से उसे फाइन लगाई जाएगी, and even that would be subject to imprisonment also. Further, the violator continues beyond the period of 1 year after the conviction, the offender can be punished and imprisonment for a term which may be extended to 7 years. Now, the other news, that is India and Russia hold talks, something important for General Studies paper 2, that is effect and policies and politics for developed and developing countries on India's interest and India's diaspora. So recently, the Prime Minister of India had a telephonic conversation with the Russian president, that is Vladimir Putin, and both leaders had discussed various issues which include the ongoing crisis in Ukraine. Russia has invaded Ukraine in month of February, and the latest development in the global commodity market. So these were the two important issues that were basically the agenda of the discussion, right? अभी रिसेंट में आपने देखा किस तरह से रशिया ने वहाँ पे बहुत ज़्यादा डिस्ट्रॉय किए, वहाँ के जो इंपॉर्टेंट सिटीज़ हैं कीव, खार्किव, वो सारे पूरी तरह से डिस्ट्रॉय कर दिए गए हैं, एंड इवन द ह्यूमैनिटेरियन क्राइसिस हैज़ ऑल्सो देयर. स्नेक आइलैंड के बारे में मैंने आपके साथ कल डिस्कस किया था. स्नेक आइलैंड से पूरी तरह से जो रशिया की फोर्सेज है उनको वहाँ से हटा दिया गया. सो दीज आर सम ऑफ द डेवलपमेंट दैट टुक प्लेस इन दिस. Now, the talks come day after the Prime Minister of India participated in the G7 summit in Germany. Now, reviewed the implementation of decision, क्योंकि इससे पहले जब रशिया प्रेसिडेंट की विजिट हुई थी इंडिया में, सो बोथ इंडिया एंड रशिया हैव अ मीटिंग, तो उसकी रिव्यू की गई है. दैट इम्प्लीमेंटेशन ऑफ द डिसीजन दैट वाज टेकन बाय द रशियन प्रेसिडेंट ड्यूरिंग हिज विजिट इन December 2021. In particular, they exchanged the ideas on how the bilateral trade between agriculture, foods, fertilizers, pharma products could be encouraged further. Now, Ukraine की issues में specifically बात हुई. The Russian president has accused the Western power of obstructing the peace settlement with the Ukrainian crisis. और diplomatic sources ने indicate किया that India is closely following the course of war that is taking place in Ukraine, especially in the latest Russian strike in the Odisha and Kiev. Although India ने खास करके अगर वोटिंग की बात करें, इंडिया ने abstain की थी वोटिंग में, सिक्योरिटी काउंसिल में जब वोटिंग हुई. And India has always been vocal about the point that they should be negotiating diplomatically. तो इंडिया ने कहीं ना कहीं directly support नहीं किया यूक्रेन को, because we are dependent on Russia on many parts. I have discussed many a times. This not will be the first time that I am discussing with you. तो रशिया के जो इम्पैक्ट हैं इंडियन इकोनॉमी में, चाहे वो न्यूक्लियर पावर्स हो, मिलिट्री असिस्टेंस हो, तो इन सारी चीज़ों में जिस वजह से इंडिया ने एब्सटेन की है. एंड इट हैज़ डिप्लोमेटिकली ये बातें कही हैं दैट these two countries should be look forward for a negotiation. एक टॉक होनी चाहिए जहाँ पे वो रेजोल्यूशन की तरफ आगे बढ़े. Now, crude oil and fertilizers import की अगर बात करें from Russia, India and Russia leader has discussed the stage of international energy food market. Despite the Western objections, India has emerged as a major buyer of Russian crude oil in the last 4 months since Russia invaded the Ukraine. And the latest estimated is that the Russian oil supplies to India has just reached in India and averages 1.2 million barrel per day. Now, in order to prevent the shortfall, India has reached out Russia earlier this year also. Now, according to the Russian news outlet Sputnik, जो company है, that said that India imported 350,000 ton of diammonia phosphate, जिसको DAP भी कहते हैं, DAP के नाम से जाना जाता है, diammonia phosphate, with Russia between April and July. Now, India fertilizer requirement is expected to grow in the monsoon rain, which is accompanied by the Kharif season. Now, moving to the editorial of the day, renewable revolutions, something important for General Studies paper 3, conservation, environmental pollution, degradation, and EIA. This editorial is written by the Secretary General of United Nations. Now, I'll be simplifying this editorial under 5 important subheads, that is impact of fossil fuels, G20 meetings, 5-point plan क्या है, रोड मैप क्या होनी चाहिए आगे, और रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी. पूरी जो एडिटोरियल की थीम है दैट फोकसेस अपॉन द रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी रोड मैप. So at present अगर देखें climate indicators continue to break records, forecasting a future and fruition storms, flood, drought, wildfires, unliable temperatures in the vast swath of the planet. तो ये कुछ ऐसे decremental effect हैं जो कि हमारे environment और planet में देख रहे हैं because of the malpractices and harming to our environment. As an individual, we can see this damage that what we are doing to our planet and to our society, what we are doing that is being reverted back in the way of vicious storm, flood, drought, fire, and the change in the temperature. Now, impact of fossil fuels की अगर बात करें, the fossil fuel are the cause of climate crisis. Renewable energy can limit the climate disruption and boost energy security. Renewable energy is something a peace plan for 21st century. But the battle for the rapid and just energy transition is not being fought and live it full. Investors की अगर बात करें, investors are still backing the fossil fuel. The government still hand out the billion of subsidies to coal, oil, gases. That is about 11 million every minute. This is the value calculation that even you can write in mains paper. तो ये सारे बातें हाईलाइट की गई है कि फॉसिल फ्यूल के क्या इम्पैक्ट है और बहुत सारी ऐसी कंट्रीज हैं जो रिलेक्टेंट है इसे एबॉलिश करने में. Now G20 की रिसेंट में मीटिंग हुई. G20 की मीटिंग ने फोकस किया था डिसमेंटलिंग द कोल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर एंड पुल अप बाय 2030. OECD के कंट्रीज को ये रिक्वेस्ट किया गया दैट बाय 2050 सारे कंट्रीज इसको भी हटाएंगे. And it was urged that the financial sector can abandon the fossil fuel finance and even invest in the renewable energy. So this called for moving towards a pathway of renewable energy. Now a 5-point plan was discussed in the meeting of G20. And this 5-point plan, इसमें कुछ important जो points हैं. Basically all these 5 points are important. If you're writing in mains paper, you have to cover all this 5 points, right? So first is to make renewable energy technology a global public good, including the removing intellectual property barriers and technology transfer. तो जो IP हैं, IP rules हैं, उनके barriers को हटाना और technology transfer में मदद करना. Second is to improve access to supply chain of the renewable energy technology, components and raw material. Now in 2020, the world has installed 5 gigawatt of battery storage, जिसको आगे बढ़ा करके 600 gigawatt तक करनी है by 2030. This is a target. These are again very important points that you must write in mains paper if you are attempting this type of questions. Now third, we must cut the red tapeism or red tape to hold the solar power and wind projects. There's a need for the fast track approval with modernization electric grids. Fourth point जो है, that is the world must focus and shift energy subsidies from the fossil fuel. Vulnerable people from the energy shocks and investment are just transited to the sustainable future. Now fifth is to triple the investment in renewable energy. Now this include multi-development bank and the development institution as well as the commercial bank. तो ये ट्रिपल इन्वेस्टमेंट जो है रिन्यूएबल एनर्जीज में सारे इंस्टीट्यूशंस जो हैं उनको भी मदद करनी पड़ेगी ताकि फाइनेंशियल डेफिसिट या फाइनेंशियल प्रॉब्लम ना आए. इस तरह के खास करके जो रोड मैप है उसको अचीव करने में. Now, what is the roadmap ahead? There's an urgent need to reduce the emissions by 45% by 2030. This is a target. और net zero emissions की भी target करनी. India has already set a net zero emissions target by 2070, and Government of India via Prime Minister has proposed Panchamrit also, right? तो कुछ पंचामृत के जो target है वो आप पूरी तरह से याद कर ले. That is very important for your mains. Now, but the current national commitment will lead to increase in almost 14% of this decade, and the cost of solar energy and batteries has pumped it at 85% of the past decade, and the cost of wind power is fall by 55%. So an investment in renewable creates 3 times more job than the fossil fuels. So this is again an important point. Now बात करें अगर way forward की, that what is an optimist, what are the positive sides that we can look for. Of course, renewable energy are not only answers to the climate crisis, but जो nature-based solutions है such as reversing deforestation, land degradation are essential point that can help us to save our environment and move towards a sustainable environment. So far, the efforts to promote energy efficiency should also be taken to a larger extent, and participation in this should be required with a depth and among all the partners जो member countries हैं उनको खास करके जो renewable energies हैं उनके तरफ promote करने की ज़्यादा ज़रूरत है. Now moving to the MCQ questions of the day. Before I proceed, just to tell you the answer of yesterday question. For first question, the correct option is B. For second question, the correct option is C. Today's MCQ for practice. Malabar exercise is an annual trilateral naval exercise between the navies of India, Japan, and US. And the exercise is held alternatively between India and Pacific Ocean. So do check it out. Which among the following is the correct option? Second is Gender Inequality Index, is released by World Economic Forum, UNDP, Save the Children, and Transparency International. This type of index report is repeatedly important for your prelims examination. UPSC tend to ask this type of question. So do check it out, which among the following is the correct option. So this was all about for the daily news and editorial analysis, followed by the MCQ questions. If you have any other concern, you can let me know. I'll be more than happy to assist you. For time being, I'm signing off. Thank you so much for watching this video.